Good evening, everybody. That's a lovely introduction for you all. And welcome to one of our Lyceum nights. Great to have the wonderful Jack back with us from Denmark. Sorry, Jack, I've got to be honest. There's a bit of a bromance going on towards you from me over here in the UK. Be quiet, Lola. Jack, you are an absolute treasure, and I so appreciate these times that you share with us. So welcome, Jack. If you'd just like to do a little introduction on yourself, please.
Thank you very much, Lawrence. Thank you. Yeah, I tried to make it short. So as Lawrence said, my name is Jack Eckhart. I'm from Denmark. I am president of a Danish Spiritualism Association. And I have had quite a journey to sit here this evening, actually having this chat with Lawrence. It started about 25 years ago, where I started my spiritual development, and that brought me very much around in England, but have brought me to Brazil and Dubai and places I've been going because of my development within the spiritual movement. And one of the things that's hit me when I started to go to England was when I met the 7 Principles, and it was like I was coming home. I'm raised as a Christian, but the spiritualism talked to me, and the 7 Principles talked to me, because I found that within the 7 Principles, I found that inspiration, and that guideline that really talked to me and made sense to me in the way of living a life, basically. With that, there came the mediumship and all the other things. And today I work in medium, doing platforms, doing sittings, working with trance and all different kind of things. And about a good year ago, I met Lawrence. Not in person. I'm looking forward to see Lawrence in person one day, I think. But so far, Lawrence talked about this bromance. But definitely, yeah, we have had a lot of good times on the phone, on Zoom, or on StreamYard and things. And it's just such a pleasure to be here tonight, to have this chat about spiritualism in 2022 and beyond, because I don't think we can keep it to just for next year or the next 2 years. Do you, Lawrence?
Not at all. And thank you, Jack, for that wonderful introduction there. And my side of the introduction is, my name is Lawrence Saville. I run the Paul Christian Spiritualist Church in Poole in Dorset. I was fortunate enough to be exposed to spiritualism at a very early age by firstly my mother, and then by my father, who became a spiritualist minister. I then moved away from the area and lived a life, as we often do. I didn't attend many spiritualist churches during that time, but I did have a compulsion to go to a church, and it was all different denominations I went to. Not regularly, I'll hold my hands up, but I just had that grounding within that church environment. And there were times when, now with my knowledge, I understand more, that my soul was asking to link in with that divine. I moved back down here to Dorset in 1998, because my parents then were of that age where one of the children should be around to help and assist. Very glad that I did. And at that time, both parents were still very active within the church. So I followed suit. This may sound a little bit trite. I didn't jump in with vigor. I did it more as duty. I'll be honest about that in the beginning. Then sadly in 2000, I lost both parents in a very short time of each other. And I stayed on here working at the church and helping out and developing myself. That was when my journey really, really started. And then 3 years ago, as is common in a lot of churches, centres and organisations where you have a committee, there was the inevitable falling out, of which the first thing I knew that everybody had fallen out with each other is when they all left. So people have been saying to me, one day you will run this church. And I was going, no. And then suddenly I did. So I took it on with vigor. And then we had the COVID time set in. I was very fortunate that living alone, I could have done one of two things. I could throw myself into this electronic presentation or turn to serious amounts of alcohol. Fortunately, I turned into the electronic presentation, and this wonderful thing has evolved, and meeting people like that. Now, you're all sat at home thinking, why are they going on like that? Jack, would you like to explain why we have just done that?
Yeah. We have just given this short introduction just to show how easy it is to just give a little bit of yourself, give a little bit of positivity, and just sharing a little bit and connecting with each other with a few words. Because I'm a great believer that we through words actually both can connect with each other, but we can also depart from each other by words. And I believe that both things have happened very much over the through the COVID lockdown, but also before that, as Lawrence talked about, people is falling out with each other for different reasons. But why are we not having the focus on the good things? Why are not having the focus on bringing people together? I believe, as we all know, today is 9/11. We all have memories of that day when we are in a certain age anyway. But it's also a day where we are reminded of our fears, of our hate, and all these things. But maybe we should use a day like today to look within and maybe look at spiritualism as I know spiritualism from the 7 principles, and see what inspiration there is within those principles. Especially the second principle about the brotherhood of man, but definitely the 5th principle about the personal responsibility. Because I believe just with those 2 simple principles, nobody is perfect. But if we at least try, to bring that inspiration out in the world.
Lovely, absolutely lovely. Thank you, Jack. And also, as we were discussing going on air tonight, it's about communication. Our whole movement is about communication, and one of the could be improved facets, if I put it all politely, is communication, not only in the church itself, but in the spiritualist community as a greater whole. We do see a lot of segregation, we do see a lot of isolation, we do see a lot of unnecessary struggling with things, when there are organizations all around us with the same principles and beliefs, and we don't seem to be able to offer out that hand at times, or if it is offered out, we treat it with a little bit of why are you trying to help me? But during this time, meeting people like lovely Jack there, and Lola, I know, is sat in the background there with a can of beer and a packet of crisps. And further afield, this communication era is coming in. It is coming in, and it's going to bear a great relevance and a great importance to the progress of our movement, because we are seeing still a great deal of centres here in the UK that are still closed, that have moved solely online, perhaps. And we're not talking to each other. We're not reaching out and just going, hi, how, I'm so-and-so. This is why we did that introduction. I'm Lawrence. That's my story. Who are you? And not have this separation. Thoughts on that, Jack?
Yeah. And some of the thoughts on that is I'll just start to go into the theme for this evening, the spiritualism 2022 and beyond, as I said, because hopefully it won't stop in 2022. But my thoughts about that communication is, we talked about the separation that and things that have been happening not only on 9/11 but through the COVID lockdown and all these things that we have human beings as a community have been going through. I'm a really strong believer that if we think just 1 year, as we're talking about, ahead, where can we bring spiritualism within the next year? And I think we have to speak about it in two different views: where we think it will go and why, and where we hope it will go.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I sincerely hope that going into next year, because it seems a bit odd at this time of year looking at next year. However, for the last 2 years, we've been putting everything off until next year. And sort of, next year might be better, and next year it might be better. So we are getting into that movement now of looking forward to the future and thinking things. So yeah, I do like where we hope it's going. That's probably easier. That's in one sentence, but never mind. But where do we think it's going? Would you like to take up that mantle first, Jack, or do you want me to carry on?
Yeah, I would like to. When I look around and see some of the mechanics that is going on around, not only for the last year or two, but also for many years, I can see. I have looked into both churches in UK, organization in Denmark, and other places in the world, where I can see. Let's just take an example. I have seen during the COVID, a lot of churches have been going online amongst you've got Self-Lawrence and Pool Christian Spiritualist Church, and a lot of churches have been going online and grab that opportunity to reach out, not only in the local community, but reach out into the world, rest of UK, for that sake. But I've seen lately a lot of, don't know if I can say a lot, but several churches that have said, no, now we're closing all our online things down because now we can be back in church. And that actually makes me a bit sad. I've during the lockdown seen so many churches. I've seen so many mediums working. I've seen so many things that I haven't been able to see if I have been if I had to go to UK to the churches. I think in UK you sometimes forget how lucky you are to have all those spiritual churches. You won't see it every other places in the world. Like in Denmark, we used to have 2 spiritual churches. One of them closed years ago in Copenhagen. Now we have one left in Aarhus, second biggest town in Denmark. Then we have some centers and things. So when the Danish Spiritual Association are doing service and things like that, we have of course done that online as well during the lockdown. But we're going out hiring halls and things like that, because that's the opportunities we have. Hopefully, we in the future will have will have churches. We had up till about a year ago, we had one place where that was what my old center, but I had to close it down because of finance and things, and on top of COVID, we had that one place where we did regular services. The rest of the time, we have been renting halls around in the country, and that's the future we are looking into. So I'm thinking, when I see all these churches saying, "Oh, we won't be doing any online things. We cancel everything we have planned, and we won't plan anything new," it makes me a bit sad, because I know that around, not only in Denmark but around in UK, they're probably sitting a lot of people that won't be able to attend a church service for different reasons. It can be because of distance. It can be because of disability. Because of the kids have to be put into bed, and all different kind of reasons where they won't be able to join a service. So why not keep that opportunity open? Maybe not have an online service every other day, but maybe just once in a while.
Yeah. Very good, valid points there. I'm responding from here, running a church. As you know, with Paul's itinerary of the Saturday night discussions on various things, we went into the church services weekly during the lockdowns. Once we were allowed back into the church, we focus on the church. But we have the added benefit. I know we're pretty unique in this aspect, that we stream the platform view of the service live so people at home can watch. But from other churches, I do get and understand the dropping of the online services, because these places have got to fund themselves. They've got to be financially supportive of either rent, if it's not their accommodation, or the ongoing costs of their own places. So I do get that about dropping the service aspect, but it's just a shame that we can't continue and expand, because this presence of the internet regarding spiritualism is never going to go away. And we have actually got a brand new frontier now to try and explore and understand and utilize. And that's where I think, some of the other churches, and even inter-church cooperation. I've offered our Zoom facilities to a few of the local places. If you want to put something on Zoom, I'll set it all up for you, and it's coming off our license, so there's no cost to you. But then there's a reluctance, and that is sad, when you have the opportunity. But I do get it with the churches where they have to leave the internet behind to focus on the in-house services. I think back in early or mid 2020, the advent of online mediumship was, in some people's eyes, a bit of a cash cow. It was going to be a bit of a way of making money very easily from the comfort of your own home. Speaking for myself and several other places that I have in communication with, that is not the case. A few practitioners will run sort of like workshops, but for a general mediumistic presentation evening, the funding for it, because I've been into a few of the bigger names within the movement, and quite a limited turnout. It's not that area. But as an educational tool and a teaching tool, the internet is awesome. Absolutely awesome. And I do wish that a lot of other places would pick up on that vein and go, okay, we'll have the services in church, but as an educational side and even a social side, because Wimbledon moved their friendship group online. And it's great. It really is. It's such good fun because it's communication, bringing people together.
Yeah. And I totally I agree with you, and that the online thing is helping us, even with the in-house things, I believe. I don't think it has to be one or another.
Very true.
But I believe, as you're talking about from an educational point of view, I believe that we can use the internet a lot for that, and that can bring it a lot of the way. But we still, I believe we still need the physical presence for a part of development as well. I don't know if you agree with me in that, but that's just my opinion on it. So, but the combination is, I believe, it's fantastic. The way we can combine it, and the education to me is so important, because I've heard a lot of other people talking about the quality of mediumship is falling, spiritualism is falling apart, is being divided, and I know a lot of people talking about why and why is it going like this and things, and how can we renew spiritualism and things, are some of the questions I've heard and seen being asked around. And I think we have to think about sometimes that, if you just take if for the spiritualism, I just leave the quality of mediumship out of it for now, at least. But I've seen comments like, people think we should just leave the philosophy out, just do the mediumship for services, because that's what people demand and all these things.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, what is spiritualism without the philosophy? It's nothing. It's just a demonstration of mediumship.
Very much. Got a lovely comment here coming in. Jamie Aylward, who runs Exeter Spiritualist Church, and he's just saying, picking up on the earlier thread of the conversation, when we were allowed to reopen, we tried to combine Zoom and having people in the centre. Neither audience was happy. That's an interesting observation, that, Jamie. Thank you. And I get that. I can understand that as well. And also from the medium's point of view, I did do one of these hybrid services once, and I found it terribly confusing. Me personally, I'm not saying they couldn't do it, but me, I lost the plot. I ended up talking to the air because I didn't know where I was going. Yeah. And he follows that comment up with, and of course, it kept people away. This is referring to his comment there when he had the hybrid going on that people could watch at home. So, yeah, very true. So it kept people away, including the helpers we needed to keep running. We still do Zoom, but once a month. And his final comment is, there is no substitute for meeting people face to face. How true, Jamie. Thank you, sir. And thank you for being with us tonight.
Yeah, thank you. And I totally agree with, it doesn't have to be one or another, but we can do Zoom services and we can do in-house services.
Yeah. I'd had something very interesting happen. I don't know if you saw my post about saying we won't be doing the open platforms, but we will be doing services where circle leaders can bring their circles to run the entire service. My physical mind was saying in church. I've now picked up 4 of these types of services to do via Zoom. So I'm scheduling a Sunday night.
Yeah.
And I think that's awesome, because when I was first approached, I'm like, well, that's not what I meant. But when I thought about it, I thought, well, why not?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
How brilliant is that? That's absolutely lovely. So Libby Bellhouse there from giving a little comment. And then there are those churches who refuse point blank to engage with the online. Very true. Many churches either lacked the will or the know-how, the technical know-how, because, as I said before, this time has shown up the frailties in the running of our churches and centres, and the need for a more robust way of how we run our places of worship. Jack.
Yeah, and I do really understand those churches that have choose from the start. We are not going online. We'll wait and see, because nobody knew how long
Yeah.
time will this take. So I totally understand that. But my comments about those that have doing online that is now canceling everything, it was more about some has, in my opinion, some has to do it.
Yeah.
Some need to do it to keep that open door to people from outside the spiritualism, to invite them in to see what is it, when we're doing a service, what is it when we are doing different things within the spiritual movement, and especially within the churches. It's an easy way to invite people in, that and I know here in Denmark we have had people on the online services that never would have walked through the door to a normal service, but
That,
because they
yeah.
have been attending online, they're now asking, when are you coming out, when are you opening the physical doors, we want to join.
That is a very pertinent point. And especially because this time we've gone through has challenged people's actual mortality, and raised the question in a much bigger proportion of the populace before, of like, what is this about? Why am I here? What's going on? Is this it? And I know a lot of the major religions as well are seeing an increase of numbers of people coming in. So, it's that one question we're all born with: why?
Yeah.
Why? And people are finding that. And very true. We in a way not get complacent, but those of us who work or attend churches regularly, we don't think about it. We just do it. It's just a natural part of us. But for somebody off of the street who has never been involved, may have heard the detrimental descriptions of our wonderful movement, or just a basic, I don't know, to actually walk through those doors is quite an effort. It really is quite an effort. And it's our duty, wherever we are, to make sure that we recognize and respond to that. But yeah, through the advent of the online, people have been able to watch at home. I know here at Poole, there is quite a good contingent of the congregation who came to us through these online activities. So yeah, praise be.
And to get a little bit back to the philosophy and the format of the services as well, because I believe that if you take away the philosophy out of the services, we won't have a service. We'll just have a demonstration, as I said, and that won't be any good for spiritualism. It would be good for some medium's business.
Yeah.
But it won't be good for spiritualism. But if we, as an organization or as a church, have trouble getting people interested within the services, within the philosophy, maybe we should look inwards and say, what are we doing wrong here? How can we do it different? How can we bring it more alive?
Yeah.
I know a lot of the churches in the UK, I've visited quite a lot of them, are using all the old-fashioned hymns. Lovely hymns, nothing wrong with that. But if we want to bring new people in, if we want to bring younger people in, we need to be a little bit modern, And it's like, and look at everything within that service. If we use in Denmark, we use a bit more modern songs people know, but the can be pop songs, rock songs that have a spiritual message within them.
Very true.
And the way we're doing it here, when we plan a service, we try to put a theme on.
Yeah.
So the reading and the songs will be connected, will all touch the same subject, and of course the address will be within that area as well. And even the prayers is becoming personal prayers, because those doing the prayers is doing a prayer that's talking into the subject of the service. And the reason I'm saying this is because I've seen now many many prayers, like it's the same prayer everybody says, more or less, Father, Mother, God, and we ask for healing to the cows and the cats and the dogs and the ants, and everything is mentioned, and all that is not. And try, in my opinion, if you try to make that prayer more personal as well, sometimes take a little bit of preparation into you getting used to it.
But actually, just talking from the heart.
Yeah.
Lovely Lola is off camera, but she's probably ordering pizza by now or something. she when you took a service for us on Zoom, she did the opening prayer, and I just fell in love. I absolutely loved the whole presentation. I thought, how refreshing is that? That is absolutely brilliant. So indeed, picking up here what we're talking about with the philosophy. So Jamie Williamson, good evening, Jamie. Gentlemen, how do you think we can balance the need for evidential mediumship with the need to promote the philosophy of spiritualism, as there is a sense that the tail is wagging the dog, i.e. too much emphasis on the messages, which is exactly what we've just been discussing. Mm-hmm. But it's how we can do it, Jamie, as you're well versed and well know, because you are a part of Paul Church, here we're trying these different service formats to break up the monotony of it. So yes, Sue Townsend, do you feel that spiritualist churches need to better understand what today's society needs by way of community and connect with people more broadly in view of the challenges everyone faces in today's world? And again, this is what we're talking about. This is the way things come together. What Jack's description there of the music and the philosophy and the prayer all intermingling on the thread is happening here with the questions, because this is exactly what we're talking about. Yes, Sue, it's true. We need to be up to date, not forgetting the long-standing members of our congregations, but bringing that balance in a gentle and kind way. So we've got a lovely lady, Christina. I'm glad that online services is going on. She's from Finland, and they do not have any spiritual church there. So how awesome is that?
It's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. And JB Aylward back. Traditionally, spiritual services are based on church services. Is it time to change entirely? Discussion, videos, tea, coffee, cakes, philosophy, and personal examples. Hello, JB. I love you. What do you think, Jack?
I think any new ideas, I would welcome them. Definitely. I know Lawrence, the two of us have been speaking about these different formats of services and things like that, and sometimes it's I think it's just this thinking out of the box. Sometimes a couple of times we have I've been doing a couple of services here in Denmark where there was people sitting at like coffee tables like in a cafe where they're sitting there, they had the coffee, they had the cakes and things like that. Even one of the times the waiter came down with the coffee during the service and started to pour up. That was a little bit disturbing, but hey, we can work with it.
Yeah.
I think try different things out, see how it works.
Very good. Yes, most definitely.
Don't dismiss things just because no, I don't like that. But think about, maybe you don't like the format it's been presented, but take it in and think about, can I do it slightly different than this so it can better work?
Do you think going forward, going ahead into next year and beyond, that a lot of the churches and centres actually need to be a lot braver and not take the negative comments so harsh on themselves?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, because I have seen and I hear where the vocal few stop things happening, which is a shame, because, as I say, I will carry on. It's your evening.
Yeah,
I will talk for England.
No, but I think that, be more brave, and I'm going to extend this a little bit, but be brave not to take the negative comments, because the few people with negative comments, they are really loud, that they are filling the room because blah, 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 blah. But actually, I believe for every negative person there's 10 positive persons. So talk to the positive persons instead. Serve the positive persons. Don't serve the negative persons. And be brave enough to grab the negative person and say, hey, this is the way it is. If you have nothing else that complain, find another church.
Yeah. And that may sound harsh to a lot of people, but it isn't, because we have to.
It isn't, because you're serving those that really want it.
Indeed. And funnily enough, this tea, coffee and cake, thank you, Jamie, I shall speak to you later, has really fired up some people. Lovely Sarah Jane Hartstone. Tea, coffee, cake and philosophy sounds spot on to her. And her friend Nicola has said something really, really actually very important. Yes, and a two-way discussion about personal experiences. Actually involve, not having our congregations just sat there in silence while we speak at them, but actually more speaking with our congregations. So yeah, Nicola, definitely. And it's in our structure as well. It's funny. This is the way Spirit work. Here at Poole, we do the family gathering, which is the community-based service. That is the time we do the tea and the coffee and the cake. Mm-hmm. So we're not saying to people you can't have it. We're just saying, if you want, if your whole idea of coming to church is to have a cup of tea, well, then you need to come on the family gathering day, because that's when we do it. So we're actually taking back a little bit the control, and not. You get a lot of good ideas and suggestions floated at you, and I'm sure you have exactly the same, Jack, in Denmark.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we have done events in the past due to, public demand. And when we actually open the doors and you get 2 or 3 people drift in, you're just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I think, we've got to focus a lot more on our directions within our churches and centres. And again, it's about being brave and not being immobile, not being, well, that's it, like it or lump it, but actually taking directions and saying, no, this is how we're going to do it. And this is when we do this, and this is when we do that, and this is when we do the other.
Yeah.
And rather than reactive all the time to, oh, why don't you do this? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think it's being flexible, I think being flexible is very much the key to many things, isn't it?
It is.
Church, having a conversation, having whatever communication we are doing, have the flexibility. And I believe that I know that sometimes we talked about the like with the hymns and that's atmosphere that can be in some churches, not definitely, but in some churches, as I experienced it, it can feel a little bit like, oh, I'm at a funeral, because we're sitting here, we are really serious. We are listening to a prayer we have heard 10 times before. We are singing a hymn that is almost making us falling asleep, no matter regarding the words, because it just goes slow. It's instead of meeting, have that flexibility and say, okay, sometimes we can do the hymns, other times we can do some more upbeat things. Sometimes we can do so, sometimes we can do this. I think sometimes that's some thoughts I have with the services. Yeah, we often taking a format, and we're using this format again and again and again and again because it works. But sometimes maybe have, I don't know, as a church, maybe have 3 or 4 different formats where you won't maybe not advertising what format are we going on with this time, but so people comes with a bit of excitement. Oh, wonder what is going to happen today.
Yeah, I agree. And again, picking up on these energies here very quickly, a lovely message here from Christina Dolores, and she's been a great supporter throughout, and she's just saying there she's so glad to have been able to attend spiritual services in the UK through Zoom. In Sweden, there is only one spiritualist centres. There is only spiritualist centres, except one spiritualist church, where there are no prayer, philosophy and singing. But I get all this through Zoom, and I've got new friends. Christina, it's been a pleasure, my darling, talking to you, and continue talking to you. But going back to the theme that we're on now, where were we? Yes, what you were saying about the change in the format of the service is interesting. We've got 2 comments from either side of the fence here, which is lovely. Libby Bellhouse saying, as long as we have this is how we have always done it, and we're not going to change. Brigade running the churches. Spiritualism will not only stand still, but start going backwards.
Yeah.
So, yes, Libby, I agree. I know that is the case in some, but certainly not all churches and centres. But I know in some, there is a very staid view. And Julie Caswell is coming from the other side of that and saying, I think we need to make the congregation a part of the service. People want to be included and have an experience. How true, Julie, because that is the experience. You know, we're giving people evidence that we live after we die. I mean, how awesome is that? What more awesomeness do you want? Yeah, and we should be celebrating that fact. And I'm going on far too much because this is Jack's evening. So over to you, Jack.
No. No, but yeah, I agree with you, Lawrence. I think each service, each event we have within where we have spirit with us, it should be a celebration. You know, and if you can even bring dancing in, it would be lovely, wouldn't it?
No, not for me.
Okay. Hey, be open.
I don't dance, I don't sing, all right? Be quiet, Lola. Okay. Jamie Williamson has brought up actually a really interesting point here. And he's saying, I think we have to recognize that at spiritualism's inception, the model of Anglican Church was well accepted and understood by the vast majority of the population. Today, this model no longer resonates with the general population. So we need to embrace a more informal and life-centered approach that is in tune with a more media-savvy generation for some of our gatherings.
Yeah, and yeah, spiritualism is coming out of basically Christian spiritualism came out from Christianity back in the days and took that a bit of that format, didn't it? But I think again we have to remember and think a bit out of the box and not forget, because I'm a strong believer that we always have to remember where do we come from.
Yeah.
How was it back in the days? We must never forget that, because that is what our foundation is built on as a spiritualists. So we have to remember where are we coming from, but we also have an aware of where are we heading to. Where do we want to head to?
Indeed. Where do we want to be next year? Where do we want
to be?
Well, I've got no idea, love. I just let it happen.
Yeah. Oh well, but it's as we in the start we talked about what we think and what we hope.
Yeah.
I think that within a year's time, there will be a lot of churches, centralized organizations that will be struggling.
Yeah.
Because they're not moving forward.
Yeah.
They're not embracing the new opportunities. They are going more and more, and that not only for the next year, that have been going on for ages. They are getting more and more into politics instead of spiritualism.
Yes.
As somebody mentioned, this old committee that is sitting there, and that this is how we always have been doing, and so and so, and they're fighting of who is going to be the president, and all these things, instead of getting together and sitting down around the table and not and think about, but what are we actually want? Where do we want to go? What do we want from our church? What do we want from our movement? Do we want people in our congregation? Not only those 3 or 10 people that I know that is the numbers in many churches, but do we want to fill the church? And if we want that, how are we going there? But because we can see what we're doing now, it's just bringing 3 or 10 people in.
Yeah. Yeah.
So sometimes I think we have to take our nose out of our own belly and lift our head and look out and see how can we do things? How can I be inspired by our churches, by our other organizations?
Indeed.
Not how can I copy others, but how can I be inspired? I think it would be great things like not only in the UK but maybe worldwide, that if there could be like an online community where churches, organizations, and things could be meeting up a couple of times a year, having discussions, having debates about where are we going with spiritualism? Any suggestions? Any ideas? What are you doing in UK? What are you doing in Sweden? What are you doing in Australia? Even though the place where we don't have the churches, but we're still doing the services. So if we, in that way, could get together and together let spiritualism grow, let spiritualism come back with strength. We can see organizations bleeding members and things because they have so much focus on politics and restrictions and all these things. And sometimes I think, where did spiritualism go in all this?
Yeah. You know? No, I agree wholeheartedly, Jack.
And unfortunately, I can see, I have seen here in Denmark, I believe it's, you see it a lot of UK, the committees around and all these things. You will have members coming in, they actually don't want to be in the committee or in whatever to take part of it, but they want to be in there to promote themselves.
Mm.
Oh, I want to be president because then I can go out and say, oh, I'm one of the top because I'm a president. So book my courses, book me for demos and things, so I can build my business.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, sadly we do see that.
We see that, and when we talked about earlier about when the church have to be more brave, point out those people and say, hey, this is not working.
Yeah.
You know, and stay strong with it. I know it's not easy, and sometimes you will have them in there, and they will have done all these things. They have done maybe a lot of damage and things before you recognize it. But at that time, get rid of them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because unfortunately, there's many people that is not, that really don't care so much about spiritualism, but they care about themselves and their own business. I know we have them here in Denmark. I know you have them in UK, and I'm pretty sure they're all over the world there.
Yeah, very true. Very true. I think this energy of going forward and what we'd like to see coming in.
Yeah.
For me, we've got to be a lot more focused actually on, firstly, focus on spiritualism without, maybe having the odd other spirituality aspects coming in, but certainly a more dedicated way of education within spiritualism. And I don't mean by the half-day or one-day workshops. I mean by courses of workshops and courses of circles. So you're actually setting that intent beforehand. I'm very fortunate to be sat in a development circle, which was very well planned, very well thought out, very structured, and over a certain time period. And when this evolved, I went, do you know what? I really feel strongly this is certainly something the churches and centres we really need to look at, not allowing things to just go on and on and on ad infinitum, but just getting in there with that initial energy, because you're stating your intent with spirit. Tonight before we came online, I sat and stated my intent with spirit. This is how we should be working more now, and bringing that into people, and saying, okay, we're going to go through this. It's these steps that we're going to go through, and the end result, hopefully, will be about there. Then you can start looking at the next step on the flight, things like that. So I would love to see that coming in more, that the churches and centres really focus on a planned series of events outside of these services, but we're certainly within the circles, within the healing groups, within the philosophy groups. What church has ever presented a series of 6 workshops on developing your philosophy? And things like that. And I really hope that we start to see this more proactive. To me, in spiritualism for the last 20 odd years, we've been very reactive. Oh, why don't you do this? Oh, okay. And nobody turns up. Why don't you do this? Okay, a couple of people turn. Oh, why don't you do that? Oh, yeah, it's all right. We had a lovely And that's not what we're about. We're about life. We're about getting out there and grabbing it. I'll rephrase that. But it's about living this life. And to do that, we've got to enthuse people from the very beginning and showing a professional approach to our movement. Not, we've got a 3-hour workshop this weekend. Put your names down if you're interested, and it's on something a bit disingenuous. So, right, we're going to do a course on this, and this is the whole outlook, and we've got a really good tutor for you. And, we think, if you are drawn to that, go for it.
Yeah.
A lot of comments coming in. Cover that one. Jamie Elwood just brings in nice little memory there. The loveliest service that, in my opinion, we had, and that's down at Exeter, was an impromptu arrangement where 5 mediums we had there by chance rotated in groups. Everyone felt involved and part of the event. See, again, Jamie, that's that key element there. We involving the congregation. We are involving these people that come into our churches and centres. I find it really difficult to do a service now where the format of the service is I end up talking at people. It's just not in me now. I want to do something like questions and answers instead of philosophy. Just bring people in, or anything. But this, I even try wherever possible in Paul Church, I'll take the lectern away. So you're on an open platform. You haven't got that barrier between you and the congregation. Lynn Boyd there from Vancouver. Feel very fortunate where I live. We started a Zoom church 2 years ago. We are a very progressive church, but luckily follow the older traditions and beliefs, but in a very modern way. And after the service, we have an open mic where more messages can be given, received, or just a chat and ask questions. Lovely, Lynn. Absolutely lovely. Sarah Jane there. There's another good point about services being like funerals. I was brought up in a strict religion where there wasn't much joy involved, which didn't encourage me to engage. Therefore, I definitely feel that faith should be more about celebration and loving life and spirit and cake, because Sarah Jane does like her cake.
Oh, yeah, don't forget the cake.
Sue Wilkinson's just saying, needs an online community since there is no spiritualist church near me. That's why I'm here with you now. Yeah, good point, Sue. Oh, gosh, it's built up. Anyway, so 2022, Jack. Yeah, I think the energy is we want to be out there more. We want to be talking with new people. We want to be talking with our congregation, not lecturing.
Yeah.
A good lecture has its place. I saw one the other night with Leonard Tatt, absolutely awesome, blew my mind away. That's because I want to go to a lecture. When I go to a service, I want to be engaged, I want to be enthused, I want to embrace it. Yeah, and I hope that's what we do here at Paul. What about yourself, sir?
Well, I do hope that more people will start looking into the philosophy, into educate themselves within the philosophy, and educate themselves in how to, for example, do an address. So when the address is not talking to people, but talking with people within the address. What I think we often see in addresses, and many addresses becoming quite dominating in a way, and it's just about how we phrase the word sometimes. It's like as a spiritualist, we have to do like this, and we should do like this. And so if you're sitting there, whoa, I'm not doing like that, I will feel very wrong, you know.
Yeah.
You understand? And it's not nothing wrong with the message, but it's the way it's presented. And you know, it's, to me, that's about the education within, and I really hope that more and more people will realize that the philosophy is mediumship as well.
Yes.
Mediumship is not about giving a lovely message.
Yeah.
The good medium is not everybody can give a good message, basically.
Yeah.
But only rare few people can, in my opinion, can actually give a very good message from spirits through an address.
Hugely.
You know,
And
because everybody wants to bring the loved ones through, because then I'm the star.
yeah.
If we look back at some of the old mediums like Gordon Higginson, that, in my opinion, was a great speaker as well as a great medium.
Definitely.
You know, and back in the days, there were mediums that really could grab the congregation and speak with the congregation in the way they were presenting the words.
Yeah, I agree. And again, nicely, this brings it back to my earlier comment about the spiritualist churches and centres getting more of a defined approach to their education side, and not just throwing out a bit here and a bit there, and having a much more structured approach to, because those mediums of those years, we can look back on the greats in awe and wonder because they were absolutely wonderful, but they had proper education. And when I say education, I mean within spiritualism. They had that education. They went to circle. They went through a structured step-by-step of progression. And that reflected in their work. Sadly, now we're seeing, what was it? I saw there was a course advertised the other day, and I can make you a medium in 1 day. Yeah. And I give you a certificate as well. Yeah. And I'm like, really?
Yeah, and that's right. It's very much about certificates and diplomas to put on the wall, more than actually doing the mediumship, no matter if it's a message or a dress or what it is. And unfortunately, we see that a lot, doesn't we?
Yeah.
It's about having something to put on the wall, not something to put within yourself.
So, looking into 2022, I think the general consensus is it's hopeful.
Hopeful, yes.
Yeah, it is always hopeful. There is always hope there. But there is a more expansive feel coming into our movement of getting away from the traditional all the time. There is a time and a place for the traditional. There is a time and a place for the modern. There is a time and a place for community side of things. And it's encompassing all of that, but under the banner of spiritualism, and recognizing that fact that mediumship is not just, I've got your mother here. Mediumship is the people that are running these events and whatever in the church, of tuning into spirit to get the most, because we're there in service, and that's what we're all about.
Yeah.
Jack, always a lovely joy to talk to you. Lola, do you want to come in and say goodnight? Put the beer down, love. Brilliant. Thank you, Jack. Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. Thank you for your comments. Please don't feel left out if your comments weren't highlighted. There's some wonderful things being said in there. Don't forget, we can revisit these at a later date. And I think the basic message is we need to get out there and be part of the community. We need to open our doors up wider. We need to maybe take the dog collar off and put a pair of jeans on and sit on the edge of the platform and chat with people, because that's what I do and I love it. I love the family gathering. No tie, no shirt. I'm not naked. No. Jeans and a t-shirt, sat on the edge of the platform. Do you know what? It's great. It's such a nice feel. Thank you all for joining us. Next week, we do not have a live spiritualism evening. We're having a rerun of the talk given to us by Eddie Elsley. And he was talking about shamanic rites and practices in the COVID era and mirroring what is going on in our society according to some of these shamanic principles. Really interesting talk, well worth a visit. If you didn't catch it last time, it will be streamed live to view only next Saturday, as I am out helping another church in the area with one of their events. So I should be up on a platform somewhere with rotten tomatoes being thrown at me while you're sat there having a lovely evening. Jack, sir, thank you again. I am so indebted. One day we will meet. We will meet.
Definitely we will.
Don't bring Lola, though.
If I'm coming to UK first or you're coming to Denmark.
Oh, yeah.
Probably coming to UK.
Oh, there's an offer. That's it. That's it, folks. Sue, you're on tonight. You're running the church tomorrow. Ta-da, love. Thank you, everybody. Absolutely beautiful. I hope we've really inspired you and given you, I think a lot when we talk about these things at nights, we actually say the thoughts that a lot of people are having. And I think that's a great strength to some people, because you sat there probably thinking these things in your own churches and centres. And to hear other people discussing it actually sort of like you should make you sit up and listen to it. All right, everybody, have a wonderful night.
Yeah, good night.